The Galactic Council chamber was always filled with noise. Dozens of alien species gathered under the shining dome of the hall, their voices echoing across the walls, made of crystal and steel. Some spoke in low tones, some laughed loudly, and others hissed with sharp sarcasm. Every meeting was the same, an endless debate about power, trade, and war. But on this day, the subject of discussion was strange. A single message had arrived from the Terran Republic, what the galaxy simply called the humans. It was short and bold. Humanity is ready. A new warship will soon leave Earth's orbit. The words were simple, yet they spread across the galaxy like fire. Rumors began in the trade stations, then moved into military outposts, and finally reached the ears of the Council. When the message was read aloud, the chamber erupted in laughter. The High Chancellor of the Vryn Empire, a tall insectoid with shimmering green eyes, clattered his mandibles together. A warship, built by humans? That is the funniest lie I have heard in 100 years. His laughter was joined by others. A scaled diplomat from the Tarak Dominion waved his tail lazily. Humans can barely build reliable transports. Their freighters break down every cycle. And now they claim they can build something to match an Imperial warship? Impossible. A soft ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Many aliens remembered their encounters with humans. Fragile colonies, outdated ships, small fleets that could not stand against even a minor pirate band. Humans were tolerated in the galaxy because they traded well, not because they threatened anyone. Only one delegate did not laugh. A quiet figure sat at the edge of the chamber, the representative of the minor Zaith Confederacy. His eyes narrowed as he listened. "Do not underestimate humans," he muttered, though his words were drowned by laughter. The council continued mocking. "They are dreamers," hissed a feathered ambassador. "They believe imagination is enough to break the laws of physics. Perhaps their warship is just a large cargo vessel painted black," another sneered. "They should focus on farming instead of weapons," said a bulky reptilian general. "Leave war to those who understand it." The voices grew louder until the entire hall was filled with laughter and scorn. To them, the idea of humans building a real warship was nothing but a joke. Yet outside the chamber, whispers spread differently. Traders spoke of strange human activity around their moon. Spies reported heavy traffic of materials moving between Earth and Mars. Engineers of other races quietly admitted that humans were clever. Too clever sometimes. They built things in ways that made no sense, yet somehow worked. In the shadows of the galaxy, the rumor began to change. Perhaps, just perhaps, the humans were serious. Back in the chamber, the High Chancellor struck his staff against the floor. The sound silenced the room. "Enough! This is not worth our time. Humanity is weak and their engineering is a child's game. Whatever ship they claim to build, it cannot stand against even a single Imperial destroyer." The Council agreed with a chorus of approval. To them, the matter was closed. Humanity's message was nothing more than an empty boast. But far away, on the edge of the Sol system, the truth was beginning to rise. On the surface of Mars, inside a vast underground hangar, thousands of human engineers worked day and night. Sparks flew from welding torches. Engines were tested with thunderous roars. Massive panels of reinforced alloys were lowered into place by towering cranes. The ship under construction was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Longer than a city, armored with experimental materials, and powered by reactors no alien had imagined possible. It was humanity's greatest secret. The lead engineer, a woman named Dr. Elise Warren, stood on a platform overlooking the hangar. Her voice carried through the intercom. "They will laugh until they see it with their own eyes. And then they will fear us." The workers cheered, their voices echoing against the steel walls. For years, humanity had been mocked as weak, fragile, and backward. But every insult had only pushed them harder. Every failure had fueled their determination. Now the warship was almost ready. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, the laughter finally faded. The Chancellor declared the subject finished and moved on to other matters. But some delegates could not shake a small feeling of unease. What if the humans were not lying? What if the warship was real? The Zaith representative leaned closer to his aide and whispered, "Mark my words. The galaxy has made a mistake. When that ship arrives, the Council will not laugh. They will tremble." His words went unheard by most. The chamber continued with its endless debates, blind to the storm that was about to come. And in the silence of deep space, far from mocking voices, engines roared to life. The first human warship lifted slowly, leaving behind the dust of Mars. Its hull gleamed with untested power, its shadow vast and terrifying against the red sands below. The age of mockery was ending. The age of fear was about to begin. The Galactic Council had laughed, and the sound of their mockery still echoed through the great halls of power. To them, the matter was over. But outside those shining walls, the galaxy was never silent. Whispers traveled faster than light, carried by traders, smugglers, and wandering captains. It began at a lonely outpost near the Orion Arm. A merchant ship returning from Sol reported unusual activity around the human colonies. Freighters moving at all hours. Cargo convoys guarded like treasure. And Mars has become a fortress. The story spread from station to station, changing as it traveled. Some claimed the humans were building a giant factory. Others whispered about secret weapons. By the time the tale reached the Central Worlds, it had taken shape. Humanity was building a warship. At first, the rumors were dismissed, but strange evidence kept appearing. Satellites detected unusual energy signatures near Luna. Spies caught glimpses of massive shipments of rare metals vanishing into hidden docks. Even pirate bands that preyed on human shipping reported something new, convoys too well protected, as if humanity no longer feared raiders. In the great academies of engineering, professors debated late into the night. "Impossible," said one. "Their resources are too small." "But they are inventive," argued another. "They make machines from scraps that outperform our most expensive designs." Still, no one could agree. In a smoky tavern on a neutral world, a group of alien mercenaries sat around a table. One, a scarred reptilian, slammed his mug down. "I tell you, I saw it with my own eyes. A hull so large it blocked the stars. It was under construction above Mars." His companions laughed, much like the Council had. "You saw a shadow, nothing more. Humans can barely maintain a cruiser," but the reptilian only hissed and leaned closer. "Then explain why an entire scout ship vanished last week. My cousin served on it. Their last transmission said they were approaching the human system." Then silence. The table grew quiet. Disappearances were common in the void, but the timing was troubling. Across the galaxy, rulers of empires began to take notice. Reports arrived on their desks daily, each one incomplete. But together they painted a picture that was hard to ignore. The High Admiral of the Dravic Combine paced his war room, claws clicking on the steel floor. If the humans truly build such a vessel, it will upset the balance of power. One ship cannot defeat us, but it can embolden others. They could inspire rebellion. In another corner of the galaxy, the Tarak Dominion gathered their generals. "If this is true, we must destroy it before it launches," one growled. Or, another said slowly, "We must see it with our own eyes." Perhaps it is nothing but a bluff, but deep in their hearts unease began to grow. Meanwhile, on Earth and Mars, humanity remained silent. No further messages were sent to the Council. No proof was offered. Only shadows and half-truths reached the outside galaxy. This silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Inside the underground hangars, the warship was nearing completion. Engineers worked with feverish energy. "Every bolt, every wire must be perfect," Dr. Elise Warren commanded. "When the galaxy sees this ship, they must believe it is unstoppable." And so, secrecy continued. In the farthest reaches of alien space, a small scout vessel dared to test the rumors. Its captain, a young avian officer, steered carefully toward the Sol system. His orders were simple: confirm or deny the existence of the human warship. For days, the ship crept closer, recording signals and movements. At first, everything seemed normal. Human freighters moved in steady patterns. Colony stations glowed softly in orbit, and defense platforms circled Mars. Nothing unusual. But then, on the seventh day, the avian captains saw it. Rising slowly from the shadow of Mars, a massive silhouette broke through the thin atmosphere. It moved with silent grace, its engines glowing blue against the red planet. For a moment the captain could only stare, his feathers trembling. The ship was real. Larger than any cruiser, sharper than any design he had studied, it looked like a blade forged for war. He opened his communicator. "Control, this is Scout Delta 14. The rumors are true. Repeat, the rumors are—" His voice cut off. On his screen a blinding flash filled the view. Then nothing. The transmission ended, and Delta 14 was never heard from again. When news of the disappearance reached the wider galaxy, the rumors changed into something else. No longer were they jokes shared in taverns. Now they were warnings whispered in the dark. "Have you heard? The humans silenced an entire scout ship. They must be hiding something powerful. If they launch this warship, no border is safe." Fear spread quietly, but it spread wide. Back in the council chamber, some members began to question their earlier laughter. The Zaith representative, the one who had warned them before, now spoke with cold certainty. "You mocked them. You ignored them. Soon you will regret it." The Chancellor dismissed him with a wave, but the unease could no longer be erased. Too many reports, too many disappearances, too much silence from Earth. And then came the final spark, a fragment of intercepted communication, heavily encrypted, but clear enough to reveal one phrase. Project Titan, nearly complete. The Council fell into silence when the message was shown. No one laughed now. The word Titan carried weight, as if it belonged to something beyond imagination, and somewhere, hidden among the stars, the unfinished warship waited. Each day it grew stronger, and with it the fear of the galaxy grew as well. The age of rumor was ending. The age of revelation was close at hand. The galaxy was no longer laughing. Whispers had become warnings, and warnings had turned into fear. Yet still, no one outside the Sol system had truly seen the human warship with their own eyes. That changed at the border of Dominion space. The Tarak Dominion, proud and ruthless, decided to act first. Their High Marshal sent a small but powerful fleet, 12 cruisers, 2 carriers, and a swarm of escorts, to the neutral zone near human territory. The order was simple. Observe and, if possible, capture proof of this so-called warship. Captain Varlock of the Dominion was confident. His ship, the Claw of Eternity, was one of the most advanced vessels in the fleet. He believed the rumors were nothing but human lies. Humans are traders, he told his officers as they cruised through the stars. Dreamers, tinkers, children who play with tools they do not understand. If they truly built something, it will fall apart under real firepower. But as the fleet settled into formation near the human border, sensors began to pick up something unusual. "Admiral," the science officer reported, "there is an energy signature approaching from Sol territory. Large, steady, unlike any human ship we know." Varlock narrowed his eyes. "Put it on the main screen." At first, only a shadow appeared against the darkness. Then slowly, the light of distant stars revealed its shape. The bridge of the Claw of Eternity fell silent. The ship was enormous, longer than the Dominion's largest carrier, armored with sharp angles that reflected light like polished obsidian. Engines glowed with unnatural power, leaving ripples of blue light in space. Strange markings ran across its hull, symbols of Earth and Mars joined together. The human warship had arrived. On board the vessel, named Titan, Captain Marcus Hale stood tall in the command center. Around him, human officers worked calmly, their eyes fixed on glowing screens. Unlike alien ships, which often looked alive with colors and noise, the human warship's bridge was quiet, filled with sharp lines, steady lights, and a sense of control. "Status?" Hale asked. "All systems green, Captain," his first officer replied. "Shields at full capacity. Weapons locked but not armed." Hale nodded slowly. "Good, let them see us. Let them wonder." For days, the Titan had been waiting for this moment, the first reveal. Humanity had chosen carefully where to show their warship. They knew alien fleets patrolled this region. They knew rumors needed proof. Now the proof glided silently through the void. Back on the claw of eternity, panic was spreading. "Admiral, the readings are—" "Impossible," the science officer stammered. "The ship's reactor output is 5 times greater than anything we've measured before. Their armor is absorbing our scans. I cannot penetrate the hull." Varlock slammed a clawed hand on the console. "No, this is a trick. A bluff." The Titan moved closer, its sheer size dwarfing the Dominion ships. Yet it did not fire. Instead, a transmission arrived. The voice that echoed through every alien vessel was calm, steady, and unmistakably human. "This is Captain Marcus Hale of the Terran warship Titan. We do not seek war, but we are prepared for it. Choose wisely." The words were simple, but their weight crushed the silence of the Dominion fleet. For the first time in living memory, the mighty Dominion hesitated. But arrogance is difficult to silence. Varlock stood tall, his pride burning hotter than his fear. "Fire a warning shot. Show these humans they cannot threaten us." A single plasma round left the barrels of a Dominion cruiser, streaking across the void toward the Titan. The bolt struck the human warship's shields and vanished like a raindrop on fire. Not even a spark remained. Gasps filled the alien bridges. Varlock's face twisted in disbelief. "Impossible." The Titan responded, not with weapons, but with silence. Its shields shimmered, stronger than ever, while its engines pulsed with untamed energy. On the human bridge, Captain Hale gave his officers a small smile. They wanted proof. Let them test us again. The Dominion fleet did not retreat. Pride chained them to their positions. Another volley was fired, this time a combined barrage from several cruisers. The void lit up with energy blasts, torpedoes, and beams designed to tear through the strongest warships in the galaxy. But the Titan stood unshaken. Its shields absorbed the storm, glowing faintly before returning to calm. Then for the first time, humanity answered. "Target the nearest cruiser," Hale ordered. A single rail cannon fired. The round traveled at impossible speed, striking the Dominion vessel mid-hull. The cruiser split in half instantly, its wreckage scattering like broken glass into the void. Gasps and screams echoed through the Dominion fleet. They had faced many enemies, but none had ever destroyed one of their warships with a single shot. The Titan fired again, this time with a beam of pure energy. Another Dominion ship vanished in a burst of light. "Enough," Hale commanded. "Stand down." The Titan's weapons fell silent. "Only 2 shots, only 2 kills." But the message was clear. Humanity could destroy them all, but chose not to. Inside the council chambers far away, live feeds of the encounter soon arrived. Delegates who had once laughed now stared in silence at the images of a lone human warship holding back a fleet. Some trembled, some whispered. The Zaith representative allowed himself a small smile. "I warned you," he said. The Chancellor, once so full of mockery, now sat frozen. His mandibles clicked nervously. This changes everything." Back in space, the Dominion fleet retreated slowly, humiliated but alive. Captain Varlock, his pride shattered, could only whisper, "They are not children. They are predators." On the Titan's bridge, Captain Hale stood with hands clasped behind his back. He looked out into the void, where frightened fleets fled into the darkness. "This was only the beginning," he said quietly, and in that moment, the galaxy realized the truth. The humans had arrived not as weaklings, not as dreamers but as equals, or perhaps as something far more dangerous. The first encounter was over. The warship Titan had spoken. The galaxy had seen the Titan. One human warship had faced a Dominion fleet and walked away untouched. For weeks, the encounter spread through every channel, every corner of space. Traders carried the tale, spies confirmed the details, and rulers of great empires began to feel a new and dangerous fear. But fear often breeds aggression. The Dominion, humiliated in front of the galaxy, demanded revenge. They could not allow their pride to be shattered by a single human ship. In secret, they gathered allies, fleets from the Korth Syndicate and mercenary bands from the outer systems. Together, they assembled an armada larger than anything humanity had ever faced, 100 warships. Carriers, destroyers, and cruisers, all armed with the deadliest weapons in the galaxy. Their goal was simple: crush the Titan, and crush humanity's pride with it. In orbit above Mars, alarms blared across the Titan's command deck. "Captain," the sensor officer reported, voice tense, "a massive fleet is entering the system. Over 90 confirmed signatures, possibly more." The bridge fell silent. Even hardened veterans felt a chill. Humanity had built one warship, but this was a storm they could not ignore. Captain Marcus Hale stood at the center of the command deck, calm as steel. His voice carried steady confidence. "Signal Earth! Tell them the Titan will hold the line!" The first officer swallowed hard. "Sir, we're outnumbered. 1 to 100, Hale's eyes narrowed. "Yes, which means they will underestimate us." And that is their greatest mistake. The alien fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of shadows. Rows of cruisers and destroyers filled the void, their weapons glowing like a sea of red eyes. At the center of the armada, the Dominion flagship broadcast a message: "Terran vessel Titan, surrender immediately. Humanity's arrogance ends today." The message was followed by silence. The Titan gave no reply. Its engines burned, steady and unshaken. Then the battle began. The alien armada opened fire. Waves of plasma bolts, missiles, and energy beams filled space, converging on the Titan. It was a storm designed to annihilate entire fleets. Enough firepower to erase a small moon, but the Titan's shields flared like a wall of light. Energy rippled across its hull, bending the storm, absorbing it, scattering it harmlessly into the void. The warship did not move. It simply endured. On board, the crew gritted their teeth as the ship shook under the barrage. Lights flickered, alarms beeped, but the shields held strong. "Status?" Hale demanded. "Shields at 70% and stabilizing," the officer replied. "Good," Hale said, his tone cold. "Now it's our turn." The Titan struck back. Rail cannons fired with thunderous force, hurling rounds faster than light. Each shot tore through alien cruisers as if they were paper, splitting hulls, igniting reactors, scattering debris across the battlefield. Beam weapons unleashed white-hot lances that cut through carriers, slicing them apart in seconds. Torpedoes left trails of blue fire, smashing into destroyers with explosions that lit the darkness like stars being born. One shot, one kill. Again and again. In the span of minutes, 10 alien ships were gone. The battlefield, once filled with overwhelming numbers, now echoed with fear, but numbers still mattered. The alien fleet pressed harder, surrounding the Titan, trying to overwhelm it from every side. Coordinated strikes hammered its shields, forcing the warship to maneuver for the first time. Titan spun with surprising grace, engines roaring as it dodged and countered, weaving through a sea of fire. "Multiple impacts incoming," cried the tactical officer. "Brace!" A wave of torpedoes detonated against Titan's shields, sending a tremor through the massive vessel. Panels shook, sparks fell, and the bridge filled with smoke. "Shields down to 40%, the officer warned. For the first time, Titan seemed vulnerable. The alien commanders sensed it and pressed harder, their ships closing in like predators circling prey. On Mars, civilians watched in terror as the battle unfolded on their screens. The fate of humanity rested on one warship, and the outcome was still uncertain. Inside the Titan's command center, Hale refused to show fear. His voice remained steady, calm, unbroken. "Focus fire on their flagship," he ordered. The Titan's main cannon charged, energy building like the heart of a star. The ship shook as power surged through its systems, then released in a single blinding beam. The Dominion flagship never stood a chance. The beam struck directly through its center, tearing it apart in an explosion so massive it blinded every sensor in the area. When the light faded, the once proud flagship was gone, reduced to fragments drifting silently in space. The alien fleet faltered. Command lost, fear rising, they scattered in panic. "Sir, they are retreating," the first officer reported in disbelief. Hale stood tall, his eyes on the fleeing ships. "Do not pursue. Let them run. They will carry our message back to the galaxy." "What message, sir?" Hale's voice was cold as stone. "That humanity cannot be broken." Hours later, the battlefield was quiet. Wreckage drifted like a graveyard around Mars, the remains of ships once thought invincible. And at the center of it all, battered but unyielding, the Titan stood. Word spread faster than ever. Traders, soldiers, even ordinary citizens of alien worlds now spoke with awe. One ship held against 100. They destroyed the flagship of the Dominion. Humanity has risen. The galaxy, once filled with laughter at human weakness, now whispered with fear, and deep within the council chambers, silence hung heavy. The delegates could no longer deny the truth. Humanity had entered the stage not as a weak child, but as a power to be reckoned with. But even as the council trembled, humanity's engineers whispered of greater things. The Titan was only the first. Others were already being built. The clash of fleets was over. The age of conquest was about to begin. The wreckage of the Dominion fleet still drifted near Mars. Across the galaxy, images of the battle replayed endlessly. One ship, one human ship, had stood against 100 and prevailed. For some, it was unbelievable. For others, it was terrifying. But for all, it was undeniable. In the Galactic Council chambers, the mood had changed. Where once there had been laughter, now there was silence. Delegates who had mocked humanity now stared at reports with wide, fearful eyes. "How?" one ambassador whispered. "How could they build such a ship in secret?" The High Chancellor, who had once called humans children, clicked his mandibles nervously. No species has ever broken the rules of engineering. No one. Yet they did. How? The answer did not come from the Council. It came from history, hidden in the shadows of Earth and Mars. Years earlier, humanity had stood divided. Nations quarreled, governments argued, and resources were wasted on rivalries. But everything changed after the first humiliations in space. Human ships, weak and fragile, had been mocked and outclassed. Pirates preyed on their colonies, and empires treated them like children. But mockery has power. It fuels anger, and anger fuels resolve. One by one, nations of Earth set aside their differences. Old enemies signed pacts. Rival governments shared technology. For the first time in history, humanity united not against each other, but against the galaxy that laughed at them. They called it Project Titan. The project was hidden in plain sight. Cargo fleets carried metals disguised as trade goods. Research stations labeled their work as energy studies. Shipyards on Mars dug deeper underground, building hangars large enough to house a city. Only a handful of leaders knew the truth. Only a few engineers understood the full design. Each piece of Titan was built separately, scattered across colonies, so no spy could see the whole picture. It took decades. But humans are patient when pride is on the line. Dr. Elise Warren, the chief engineer, was the heart of the project. To her, Titan was more than a ship, it was a statement. She had once stood in an alien marketplace, overhearing merchants laugh at human designs. The memory burned in her soul. "They think we cannot build," she had told her team. "Then we will build something they cannot even imagine." And so, the impossible was born. Titan's armor was forged from experimental alloys created in secret labs on the Moon. Its reactors used designs considered unstable by alien engineers, yet perfected by human stubbornness. Its weapons were not copies of alien technology, but inventions of human creativity. Railguns powered by magnetic fields, energy beams compressed through crystal lenses, and torpedoes guided by AI intelligence. Where aliens followed tradition, humans broke rules. Where others said it cannot be done, humans asked, what if it can? That was the secret. Not resources, not numbers, but imagination. After the battle near Mars, fragments of Titan's weapons and shield emissions were collected by alien scouts. When scientists studied the data, their jaws fell open. "This is chaos," one engineer said. "Their designs make no sense." "Yet it works," another replied. "They built what we said was impossible. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized its own arrogance. They had laughed at human creativity, thinking it weakness. Now they saw the truth. It was humanity's greatest strength. On Earth, humanity celebrated. Crowds filled the streets, cheering as news of Titan's victory spread. Children shouted the name of the ship like it was a hero. Engineers wept with pride. Soldiers stood taller, knowing their people were no longer weak. But not everyone celebrated. In the shadows, leaders of human governments met in secret. The Titan has proven itself, one said. But now the galaxy will come for us. They will not let this stand. Then we must be ready, another replied. Project Titan cannot end here. It must grow. And so plans began for more warships, larger, stronger, deadlier. Humanity would not stop at one. In the Galactic Council, debates turned into panic. Some demanded immediate war against humanity before more Titans could be built. Others argued for diplomacy, fearing that a failed attack would only prove human power again. The Zaith representative, who had always warned them, spoke calmly. You all underestimated them once. Do it again, and your empires will fall. The humans are no longer children. They are the storm. The chamber fell silent at his words. None could deny the truth. Meanwhile, aboard the Titan, Captain Marcus Hale stood in his private quarters, staring at the stars. He knew the galaxy would not forgive humanity's defiance. But he also knew something greater, something the Council did not yet understand. Titan was not just a warship. It was a promise that humanity would no longer bow. A promise that they would shape their own future. A promise that the galaxy would never laugh again. The revelation was clear. The galaxy's mistake had been underestimating humanity. Their strength was not in numbers, not in wealth, not in tradition. Their strength was in their will to do the impossible. And as whispers spread of more Titans under construction, fear grew like wildfire. The revelation was complete. Humanity had changed the balance of power forever, but this was not the end. It was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen the first Titan. Soon they would see what came next. The galaxy was no longer the same. The Titan's victory had shaken every empire, every dominion, every proud ruler who once laughed at humanity. No one dared to mock them now. Instead, whispers of fear and respect spread like fire across the stars. But fear does not rest. Fear leads to choices, and those choices would decide the future. In the capital world of the Dominion, broken pride turned into rage. Their generals shouted for vengeance. Humanity has embarrassed us. One roared. We must strike again before they build more ships. But their ministers were less certain. What if they already have more Titans? One whispered. What if every battle becomes another defeat? Across the chamber, silence grew. The Dominion was powerful. But for the first time in centuries, they hesitated. Meanwhile, on neutral worlds, ordinary beings began to talk in secret. In taverns, in marketplaces, in quiet meeting rooms, they asked the same question. Perhaps the humans are what we need. For generations, the great empires had ruled through fear. Smaller nations, colonies, and free traders had little voice in the galaxy. But the Titan had shown something new. One ship had humbled an empire. And if humanity could stand against giants, maybe others could too. Hope, once hidden, began to rise. Inside the Galactic Council, panic turned into desperate debate. The High Chancellor slammed his staff on the floor. We must contain them. If humanity grows unchecked, they will become a threat to all. But another ambassador shook her head. They are already a threat. You saw what one ship did. If we strike, they will only strike back harder. The Zaith representative, calm as ever, spoke last. You cannot contain them. You cannot destroy them. You can only choose whether to face them as enemies or as allies. The chamber erupted in chaos. No one could agree. For the first time in centuries, the Council did not know what to do. On Earth, humanity celebrated, but leaders were cautious. Behind closed doors, meetings grew tense. If we move too fast, they will unite against us, one warned. If we move too slow, they will find a way to crush us, another replied. At last, Captain Marcus Hale was summoned from the Titan to speak before the United Terran Council. He stood tall in the great hall, his voice steady. The galaxy does not respect words, they respect strength. The Titan has proven that strength. But if we wish to survive, we must show them more. What do you suggest, Captain? One delegate asked. Hale's eyes hardened. We must reveal the truth. The Titan is not alone. Others are coming. Gasps filled the hall. Few had known the full scale of Project Titan. For years, hidden shipyards on Mars, Luna, and even the asteroid belt had been quietly working. Designs improved, engines refined, weapons perfected. The Titan was the first, but not the last. When word spread that humanity was building more warships, the galaxy trembled. Some dismissed it as rumor. Others believed it completely. And those who believed began to prepare, some for war, some for alliance. In the shadows, rebel groups on distant worlds began to whisper, if the humans can stand, maybe we can too. Merchants, long bullied by empires, began seeking human protection. Small colonies asked for human envoys. And slowly, power began to shift. The old order was cracking. The true turning point came not in battle, but in words. The Titan arrived at a neutral station known as Haven's Reach, a crossroads for dozens of species. Crowds gathered, eyes wide, as the massive warship docked. For many, it was their first time seeing the legend. Captain Hale stepped onto the station platform, surrounded by human officers. The crowd fell silent. Even those who hated humanity could not hide their awe. Hale spoke simply, his voice echoing across the station. Humanity does not seek conquest. We do not seek to rule, but we will not bow. The Titan is proof of our strength and proof of our promise. We will stand against any who threaten us, and we will stand with those who seek freedom. His words spread far beyond Haven's Reach. They were recorded, replayed, and shared across the galaxy. And for many who had lived under the shadow of empires, those words were like fire in the dark. A new force had arrived, not just a warship, but an idea. The Galactic Council tried to silence the message, but it was too late. The tide was turning. The Titan had become more than a weapon. It had become a symbol of resistance, a symbol of possibility, a symbol that the galaxy could change. Far away, in the silent void of the Sol system, construction continued. Shipyards burned with light as massive frames took shape. Larger than Titan, more advanced than Titan, each one a promise of what was to come. Dr. Elise Warren stood at the heart of the main shipyard, her voice filled with determination. The Titan was our answer to mockery. These new ships will be our answer to fear. Let the galaxy watch. Let them wonder. Humanity has only just begun, and so the galaxy reached its turning point. No longer was humanity the weakest child among the stars. No longer were they the subject of laughter. They had built the impossible. They had survived the storm. And now they would decide their own destiny. The age of mockery was gone. The age of humanity had begun.